You don't fit in. And that's your power. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt like you didn't belong? Not because you were lacking something, but because your energy was just different. That's not a flaw. That's not something you need to fix. That's your power. You weren't meant to blend in. You were born to stand out. The world we live in often celebrates conformity. It teaches people to fit in, to follow the script, to avoid rocking the boat. But people like you don't follow the script. You rewrite it. And that intimidates people, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your very presence challenges the normal, the expected, the average. You might notice that when you share your thoughts, people get quiet, not because you're boring, but because they don't know how to respond to someone so real, so unfiltered, so connected to a deeper truth. Your perspective is not built on surface-level thinking. You speak from the soul. You observe more than you talk. You feel things on a deeper level. And most people, they don't know how to handle that level of authenticity. You've probably had people label you as too much, as too deep, or too intense. But let me tell you something. Those labels are reflections of their discomfort, not your inadequacy. You are not too much. You are simply rare. And rarity often comes with misunderstanding. Being different comes with a cost, but it also comes with a gift. You see what others can't. You sense what others ignore. You understand what most people are still trying to figure out. Your aura speaks before your words do. It commands attention. It holds space. It makes people question their own masks. And that's exactly why you often feel isolated. Not because you're broken, but because you're elevated. This world is full of noise, distraction, and people wearing masks just to survive. But your energy, it cuts through all of that. You walk in truth, and people don't know how to respond to someone who's not pretending. And that's why they distance themselves, not because they hate you, but because they're not ready for the mirror you hold up to them. So if you've ever wondered why you don't fit in, this is your confirmation. You weren't designed to. You weren't meant to walk the same path as everyone else. You were meant to be the light in the darkness, the truth in a world of lies, the rare soul in a sea of the ordinary. Let them be intimidated. Let them misunderstand. Let them keep their distance. Because your energy wasn't made to be easy. It was made to be unforgettable. You make people feel exposed without saying a word. There's something about you that makes people uneasy, and not in a negative way, but in a revealing way. Your presence has the power to peel back layers. You don't need to speak, judge, or confront anyone directly. Your silence alone carries a truth that unsettles those who are hiding behind masks. You may have noticed that when you walk into a room, people get nervous. Conversations change. Laughter feels forced. People become self-conscious. It's like you hold a mirror that shows them their own insecurities. And the truth is, you do. Because your aura doesn't reflect the surface, it reflects the soul. Most people go through life wearing emotional armor. They cover up their fears, their regrets, their secrets. But when they come near someone like you, someone who radiates authenticity, they feel seen, and not everyone is ready to be seen. Most people fear exposure. They fear that if someone looks too closely, the cracks in their confidence, the lies they tell themselves, and the pain they hide will be revealed. That's why people pull away from you. That's why they act cold, avoid eye contact, or suddenly change the subject when you're around. You awaken something in them that they've spent years trying to bury. You force them to confront their truth, not by doing anything extreme, but simply by being yourself. You might not even realize the depth of your energy, but it's working constantly. Your gaze alone can stop someone in their tracks. Your presence can silence a room. Your words can feel like a soul check, even when you're being gentle. That's not arrogance. That's not something to apologize for. That's the effect of a powerful aura, and not everyone is equipped to stand in its light. This gift is both beautiful and burdensome, because while others can laugh and connect easily with everyone, you often find yourself misunderstood or isolated, not because you're unworthy of connection, but because people aren't always ready for the level of vulnerability your energy requires. But here's the truth. You weren't made to blend in with shallow connections. You weren't built for small talk and surface-level friendships. Your soul craves depth, and so your energy demands it too. You don't seek attention, you draw it, naturally. You don't ask for respect. It's just felt when you enter a space. You're not ordinary, and people feel that, whether they understand it or not. So if people seem tense around you or act strange without a clear reason, don't take it personally. That's just your aura doing what it was meant to do. Awakening truth. Keep showing up. Keep being real. Keep holding that mirror up. Even if it shakes them, it's exactly what they need. You don't chase attention. It chases you. In a world obsessed with validation, where people scramble for likes, approval, and applause, you stand out because you don't chase attention. And ironically, that's exactly why it chases you. Your energy doesn't scream, it resonates. You're not trying to be seen, you already are, because you exude something rare, self-possession. You're not out here broadcasting your every move. You're not constantly seeking the spotlight. In fact, you may prefer solitude. You often stay quiet in loud rooms. You observe more than you speak. And yet, people can't help but notice you. That's the power of a truly magnetic aura. You don't enter rooms with a need to impress. You enter with a quiet confidence that shifts the atmosphere. And it leaves people curious. Who is this person who isn't trying so hard? Why do they seem so content in their own space? Your lack of desperation makes you irresistible, because while others are draining themselves trying to gain approval, you've already given it to yourself. That self-acceptance shines through everything you do. Your aura sends a clear message without needing to speak. I am whole on my own. I don't need to perform to be valued. I don't need noise to be heard. And people are drawn to that kind of still power. It makes them pause. It makes them reflect. It makes them wish they had the same sense of inner peace. But here's the thing. Your refusal to seek validation unsettles many. Some people find your independence intimidating because it highlights their dependency on the crowd. You don't play the social games. You don't follow trends just to fit in. You don't adjust your energy to make others comfortable. And that kind of unapologetic self-trust, it can either inspire people or expose their insecurities. This is why you're not everyone's favorite at first glance. Some might mislabel your calm as arrogance. Others might think you're too serious or too intense. But that's just their discomfort speaking. People often mistake self-assured energy for aloofness until they realize it comes from depth, not distance. You didn't ask to stand out. You didn't ask to be different. But you are, and the world notices. So don't ever feel pressured to perform. Don't dim your light just because it casts shadows on others. You are not here to be loud. You are here to be real. And your presence, just as it is, speaks volumes. Stay centered, stay quiet if you need to, let your calm make the noise. Because you weren't made to chase anything, you were made to attract everything by simply being authentically you. You see through people's masks. Instantly, you've always had a gift, one that not everyone understands. You can walk into a room, glance at someone, hear a few words, and feel what they're hiding. While most people are fooled by charm, smiles, and polished facades, you see through it all. Not because you're suspicious, but because your spirit is tuned into truth. This ability isn't about judgment. It's not about trying to expose people. It's about intuition. Your inner radar is sharp, and it picks up on frequencies others ignore. You can feel when someone is pretending. You can sense when someone's words don't match their energy. And deep down, you already know who's real and who's not, long before anyone else catches on. That kind of insight can be both a blessing and a burden. Because while others are getting caught up in surface-level friendships, fake flattery, or sweet-talking manipulators, you're already one step ahead. You know what someone's really about, even if they don't say it out loud. And that makes people nervous, especially those who rely on wearing masks to survive. Your presence is like a mirror. People feel seen around you, and that can be deeply uncomfortable for those who aren't ready to face their own truth. That's why some people avoid you. They sense you won't play their games. You won't be fooled by appearances. You don't get caught in the web of small talk, sugar-coated lies, or false praise. And when you speak, it cuts through the noise. Not because you're trying to be deep, but because you can't be anything but authentic. You ask questions others don't. You notice what others miss. And you bring to light the things most would rather leave in the dark. This makes you intimidating to anyone who hides behind masks. Because deep down, they know you see them. Not the version they pretend to be, not the story they sell to the world, but the truth behind their eyes. And that kind of spiritual clarity can shake people. But you must understand, This isn't something to suppress. It's not something to be ashamed of. In a world obsessed with filters, illusions, and ego, your gift is rare. It's sacred. You were given this sight for a reason, to protect your peace, to avoid the traps others fall into, and maybe, just maybe, to help others heal when they're finally ready to take the mask off. You're not ordinary because you're not easily fooled. Your aura doesn't just glow, it reveals, and the more you own this truth, the stronger your energy becomes. Don't ever doubt it. Your intuition is not just a feeling, it's a compass. Trust it, use it wisely, and let it guide you toward people who are as real as you are. You attract deep conversations, not small talk. Have you ever noticed how people either go very deep with you or they avoid talking altogether? It's not because you're strange or difficult. It's because your presence demands substance. You don't do well with surface-level chatter. You don't care about gossip, what the weather's like, or who wore what. Your spirit is wired for meaning. You crave conversations that touch the soul, challenge the mind, and speak to the heart. This alone sets you apart. In a world full of distractions, noise, and artificial connection, your energy stands out like a lighthouse. People feel this, even if they don't understand it. When you speak, you bring stillness. When you listen, you actually hear. And when someone opens up to you, they often end up saying things they've never said out loud before. You create a space where truth can breathe. That's why people either gravitate toward you or they feel exposed around you. You're the type of person who can turn a casual, "How are you?" into a profound moment of self-reflection. You're not satisfied with answers like, "I'm fine." You want to know what's really going on beneath the surface, and that kind of presence is powerful. But it also means you intimidate those who aren't ready for that level of depth. People who are used to hiding behind laughter, flirting, or shallow talk may find it hard to be around you. They'll say you're too intense, too serious, or too much, not realizing that what they're really saying is, "I'm not ready to be seen." Your aura doesn't entertain distraction, it invites alignment. That's why you often find yourself feeling disconnected in social situations where the talk is meaningless. You don't belong in circles where people compete for attention, chase trends, or talk just to fill silence. You thrive where truth flows, where authenticity is honored, and where yous meet, not just personalities. And here's what's amazing. The right people crave your energy. The real ones, the seekers, the healers, the deep thinkers, the empaths, they find home in your presence. They feel safe, understood, and inspired by your words. You help people open up, reflect, and even heal just by being you. So don't shrink to fit into spaces where you can't speak your truth. Don't water yourself down to make shallow people comfortable. Don't silence your soul just because small talk is the norm. You are not ordinary because your conversations awaken people. Your words carry weight. Your silence makes room for truth. And your presence? It reminds others that it's okay to go deeper. The world needs more souls like yours, unafraid of depth, unbothered by masks, and unapologetically real. You're unapologetically honest, even when it's uncomfortable. Honesty is one of the rarest currencies in today's world. Most people water down their truth, soften their words, or stay silent just to keep the peace. But you can't do that. It's not because you enjoy conflict, it's because your soul refuses to participate in anything fake. You speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, even if it makes others uncomfortable, even if it costs you relationships, approval, or praise. That's powerful and intimidating. People often say they want the truth until they hear it. That's where your energy becomes a mirror. You reflect reality back to others. You call things what they are. You see through the smoke and illusions, and you're not afraid to say what others are too scared to admit. That kind of bold honesty doesn't make you popular, but it makes you real. And realness is rare. You've probably noticed that some people either avoid deep conversations with you or they look uneasy when you speak. That's not because you're harsh. It's because honesty cuts. It exposes what's been hidden. It removes the masks people wear to feel safe. And once the truth shows up, there's no going back. You, my friend, don't just talk. You wake people up. Your honesty may have cost you friends. It may have ended jobs, relationships, or opportunities, but in return, it gave you freedom. You don't live in the shadows of people's expectations. You live in the light of your own alignment. And while that scares many, it empowers the ones who are tired of pretending. You're not ordinary because you'd rather speak the truth and be alone than lie and fit in. That takes strength. That takes character. That takes soul. Some might call you blunt. Others might say you're too much. But here's the truth. They're not used to someone who speaks without a filter, who doesn't sugarcoat life, and who refuses to betray themselves for acceptance. You don't twist your words to sound sweet. You speak to heal, not to please. And let's be clear, your honesty isn't cruel. It's compassionate. You speak to elevate, not to destroy. You don't expose people to shame them. You shine light so they can grow. You don't judge. You reveal. And that difference is why the people who matter respect you deeply, even if they don't always agree with you. So if you've ever felt like your truth pushes people away, don't let that shake you. What you're doing is sacred. You're showing the world what it means to be raw, real, and awake. You're giving people permission to drop the act, face themselves, and live with integrity. Because at the end of the day, truth is not just what you say, it's who you are. And that, right there, is what separates you from the ordinary. You have a natural magnetism, but you don't beg for attention. There's something about your presence that draws people in, even when you're not trying. You don't chase attention, yet somehow it finds you. You're not loud, flashy, or overly demanding. But when you enter a room, people notice. They feel something shift. Your energy carries weight, and your silence often speaks louder than other people's noise. That's called magnetism. And here's the key. Your magnetism doesn't come from trying to impress others. It comes from being completely at peace with who you are. That level of self-possession is rare and intimidating. Most people are conditioned to seek validation, to constantly prove their worth, to gain approval. But you know who you are. You don't need applause to feel valuable. You don't need the spotlight to feel seen. You carry your own light, and that light shines whether anyone is watching or not. That's why some people are drawn to you, and others are quietly uncomfortable around you. You make them wonder, how can someone be so confident without bragging, so at ease without needing attention? It disrupts the narrative they've been taught, that you must be loud to be important or aggressive to be powerful. But you break that mold simply by being. You're not ordinary because your presence speaks before your words do. And yet, you're not arrogant. In fact, you're deeply humble. You don't flaunt your strengths. You own them quietly. You're not thirsty for compliments. You're full from within. Your confidence doesn't scream, it radiates. And the truth is, that kind of confidence can be intimidating to those who rely on external praise to feel whole. When people talk to you, they feel seen, truly seen. Not because you try to dominate the conversation, but because your energy is grounded. You listen, you observe, you don't force connections, you allow them. You don't try to be liked, you focus on being real. That authenticity makes you magnetic without effort. People want to be around you, even if they can't explain why. And while many chase attention to fill a void, you stand still and attention comes to you. Here's the thing, attention that is chased fades fast, but attention that is attracted through authenticity, that's lasting, that's powerful, that's rare. You've mastered the art of being whole without the need to be seen. You've learned that when you stop trying to be everything to everyone, you become everything to yourself. And in a world addicted to performance, your calm confidence feels revolutionary. So never downplay your natural presence just to make others comfortable. Don't shrink to fit into spaces you were born to elevate. You're magnetic, not because you seek validation, but because you embody truth. You are a reminder that power doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes, the most powerful presence is the quietest one in the room. And that's why you're not just different, you're unforgettable. You don't settle for shallow connections. You crave depth. In a world where small talk is the norm and surface-level friendships are celebrated, you stand apart. You're not the type to be satisfied with meaningless conversations or hollow relationships. You don't care about how many people you know, you care about how deeply you know them. You crave substance, realness, connection that nourishes the soul. And because of that, you intimidate those who are only comfortable living on the surface. People who are used to shallow interactions often find your presence unsettling, not because you're unkind, but because your energy demands authenticity. You ask the questions most people avoid. You see beyond the mask. You're not interested in someone's highlight reel. You want to know their story, their pain, their truth. That level of depth is rare, and for some, it's terrifying. You don't fake smiles. You don't play social games. You'd rather sit in silence than entertain meaningless chatter. Your spirit yearns for something more, for conversations that spark growth, relationships that feel sacred, and connections that honor the truth. And because you hold that standard, you don't let just anyone into your world. That's intimidating to those who are used to being easily accepted. But to the right people, you're a breath of fresh air. You're the one they feel safe with, the one they open up to, the one they can be fully themselves around, without fear of judgment. Because while your standards are high, your heart is warm. You don't seek to expose people's flaws. You invite them to be real, to be raw, to be human. And here's the twist. Because you crave depth, you've likely spent a lot of time alone. Not everyone can meet you at that level, and you've learned not to lower yourself just to keep others close. You've outgrown the need to belong in every room. You understand now that solitude with truth is better than connection with pretense, and that clarity has made you powerful because you no longer settle. You intimidate people who can't hide behind shallow distractions when they're around you. You make them reflect, you make them think, you make them question the masks they wear, and some won't be ready for that. Some will retreat, but that's okay. Because your path is not about pleasing everyone. It's about walking with those who match your depth. You know that love without truth isn't real. Friendship without vulnerability isn't real. Conversation without honesty isn't real. So you don't chase quantity, you protect quality. You don't beg to be included. You build a life so full of meaning that it includes only those who deserve to be there. You're not ordinary because you don't fear depth. You live for it. And in a world that's obsessed with looking perfect, you're obsessed with being real. That's rare. That's powerful. And that's exactly why your aura leaves a lasting mark. You've turned your pain into power. There's something about someone who has been broken and still walks like they own the ground beneath their feet. That's you. You've lived through storms others couldn't even imagine. You've faced heartbreak, loss, betrayal, failure. But instead of letting it destroy you, you let it shape you. You transformed your pain into purpose and your scars into strength. And that kind of resilience, it's intimidating. Because most people are still running from their wounds. They're hiding their broken pieces behind masks of perfection. But you wear your journey like armor. You don't pretend to be untouched by life. You've simply learned how to rise from it. Again and again. You've cried in silence. You've healed in solitude. You fought battles no one clapped for. But through it all, you found something deeper than strength. You found yourself. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started declaring, "Watch me." That shift changed everything. Now, when you walk into a room, your energy speaks louder than your words. People feel your power. It's not loud or boastful. It's quiet, unshakable, unapologetic. And that unnerves those who haven't done the inner work, because they see in you what they're afraid to face in themselves: healing, growth, authenticity. You're a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see in their reflection. You've stopped being bitter. You've chosen to become better. Your trauma didn't leave you cold. It made you wise. You don't seek revenge. You seek peace. You don't need validation. You validate yourself. You don't carry the pain anymore. You carry the lessons. And people can feel that depth of transformation when they're near you. You've developed emotional intelligence. You've learned to sit with discomfort, to speak truth without fear, to cry without shame, to start over without apology. That kind of inner evolution doesn't come easy, and it's not common. That's why you're not ordinary. And here's what truly intimidates people. They can't manipulate someone who's healed. They can't control someone who's already walked through fire. They can't break someone who's already been broken and rebuilt stronger. That's you. You're not afraid of pain anymore because you've seen what's on the other side of it. You've walked through the dark and found your own light. You've been alone and discovered your own worth. You've faced rock bottom and used it as a foundation to rise. So now, when someone tries to shake your peace, they realize they're dealing with someone different, someone refined, someone forged, someone powerful. And that energy, your unbreakable, untouchable, undeniable energy, intimidates the unhealed, the shallow, and the insecure. But to those who have walked a similar road, you're inspiration. You're proof that survival is possible, that thriving is real, that pain can become power. You're not ordinary because your story isn't ordinary. Your glow comes from fire, and not everyone can handle that kind of brilliance. You radiate a high vibration of self-worth. Self-worth is not about thinking you're better than anyone. It's about finally realizing you don't have to settle for anything less than what aligns with your soul. And when you truly know your worth, when you radiate it, you walk through the world differently. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. You stop explaining your standards to people who were never meant to be in your circle to begin with. That kind of energy, it's powerful. And yes, it intimidates. Because you're not begging for love, attention, or approval anymore. You've become the source. You validate yourself. You don't need to be the loudest in the room because your energy speaks volumes without you uttering a word. People can feel it before you even speak. This quiet confidence that says, I know who I am and I won't be dimmed. This isn't arrogance. It's alignment. And for those who operate from insecurity or ego, it's uncomfortable. They expect people to perform for their acceptance, to chase after crumbs, to settle for toxic love or shallow praise. But you require depth. You demand truth. You expect respect, because that's what you give to yourself. You've learned the difference between being humble and being walked on. You've learned how to love with an open heart and still have unshakable boundaries. You've learned that your energy is a gift, and not everyone deserves access to it. This inner knowing, this rooted self-respect, creates a frequency that attracts some and repels others. And that's okay. Your vibe protects you. It shields you from manipulation, from games, from people who only know how to love conditionally. Your energy says, if you want to be in my life, come correct. That's rare. Most people are still trying to earn love by being more likable, more available, more everything. You, on the other hand, are not in the business of proving your worth. You embody it. You live it. You don't settle because you know what you bring to the table: loyalty, truth, peace, wisdom, strength. You've done the work to heal. You've faced your demons, your doubts, your fears, and through that work, you discovered the real you, worthy, valuable, sacred, and now you carry yourself like it. You make decisions from that place. You walk away from what dishonors it. You don't tolerate disrespect, confusion, or inconsistency, not because you're cold, but because you've learned how to love yourself too much to allow less. People who are used to control, manipulation, and low-vibe connections don't know what to do with someone like you. You're not playing the game, you're walking in truth. That's rare, that's magnetic, that's intimidating. You're not ordinary because you know your worth, and you don't hide it. You live it, you breathe it, you are it. And that kind of energy, it changes rooms, it sets standards, and it reminds everyone around you what self-respect really looks like.
Your peace is priceless, and you guard it. When you've walked through storms, survived chaos, and rebuilt yourself from the ashes, you begin to understand the true value of peace. Not the fake kind that comes from avoidance or pretending everything is fine, but the deep, soul-level peace that only comes when you've learned to sit with yourself, listen to your intuition, and protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your peace is your power. It is your clarity. It is your protection. And when you are someone who guards that peace, you automatically stand out. You no longer tolerate emotional roller coasters, toxic conversations, or the drama people try to drag you into. You've outgrown chaos disguised as excitement, and you've replaced adrenaline with alignment. And that alone can make people uncomfortable. See, most people are addicted to noise. Constant distractions, constant movement, endless conflict. It keeps them from facing themselves. But you've embraced stillness. You've chosen to heal. You no longer need to be entertained, distracted, or surrounded by people just to feel whole. You've created a sanctuary within. And that makes you powerful beyond belief. You don't overshare anymore. You don't explain your peace to those who thrive on dysfunction. You've become selective about who gets to be close to you, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. You know that energy is contagious. You've worked way too hard to elevate yours to let someone drag you back into darkness. When people try to argue, manipulate, or provoke you, you respond with silence or distance, not fire. Because peace isn't passive. It's a choice. And choosing peace often means walking away from anything that disrupts your inner stillness, no matter how familiar or tempting it is. That level of detachment, it confuses people. They don't know how to handle someone who does. React, doesn't chase, doesn't need the last word. Your lack of response speaks louder than any argument ever could, and your refusal to engage in negativity sends a message they weren't ready to receive. I've healed beyond this. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not angry, you're aligned. You're not distant, you're discerning. You don't need to prove your strength through loudness or conflict anymore. Your strength is in your restraint, in your calm, in your refusal to give your energy to what doesn't grow or serve you. People feel that, and yes, it intimidates them. Because your peace has become your boundary. Your peace has become your standard. And anyone who disrupts it automatically disqualifies themselves from accessing your space. That kind of discipline, emotional, spiritual, mental, it's rare, and it sets you apart. So if people say you've changed, good. You have. You've upgraded your energy, protected your soul, and chosen peace over performance. You're no longer interested in proving a point. You're too busy living in purpose. And that's what makes you far from ordinary. You operate in silence and move strategically. One of the clearest signs that you're not an ordinary person is this. You don't announce your every move. You're not loud about your growth, your wins, or your strategies. While most people post their every step for the world to see, you've chosen a different route. You move in silence. You've realized that real power doesn't need to broadcast. It doesn't need to scream to be heard. Power is presence. Power is precision. Power is found in the silence of a focused mind. Ordinary people need external validation. They crave applause before the work is done. But you've tapped into something deeper. You understand that the most successful, most impactful people in the world are often the quietest. They let their results speak. They let their energy introduce them. They don't seek attention. They command respect through action. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. You know how energy works. You felt what it's like to share a dream with the wrong person and feel the atmosphere shift. You've experienced that subtle doubt, that side eye, that unspoken resistance people give when your vision exceeds their imagination. So now you keep it to yourself. You build in private. You pray in private. You learn, plan, and evolve behind the scenes. And when you finally reveal something, it's finished. It's excellent. It's undeniable. Because by the time people see it, it's already too solid to be torn down by their words. You're not hiding. You're preparing. You've become a master of timing. You know that not everything needs to be shared. Not everyone needs to know. You understand that growth flourishes in quiet soil, not under the harsh spotlight of premature exposure. And that makes you different. Because most people live for the spotlight, but you live for the strategy. You play the long game. You think beyond today's likes, today's validation. You're building a legacy, not a moment. And that mindset, it sets you apart in a world obsessed with quick fame. People don't always know what you're up to, and that bothers them. Your silence forces them to wonder. Your refusal to overshare creates mystery. They can't predict your next move, and that unpredictability is intimidating. Because when they can't label you, they can't control you. And when they can't understand you, they start to fear you. But here's the truth. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're not here to satisfy curiosity. You're here to align with purpose, to fulfill a calling, and to win, not just loudly, but wisely. So keep moving in silence. Let your growth confuse them. Let your progress shock them. Let your aura do the talking, and your results write the final word. Because when you're not ordinary, your silence becomes your sword, and your discipline, your greatest defense. You hold people accountable to a higher standard. Another powerful sign
that you're not ordinary is this. You don't let people get comfortable with mediocrity in your presence. You challenge others, not out of judgment, but out of love, integrity, and vision. You see beyond who people are right now, and you hold them to the standard of who they could be. This alone sets you apart in a world that often enables laziness, excuses, and complacency. You're not impressed by talk. You're not swayed by charm. You look deeper. You observe actions. You examine patterns. And when something doesn't align, you speak up, not to condemn, but to correct. You push people toward their higher selves, and that's uncomfortable for many. Because let's be honest, growth is painful. Most people would rather be surrounded by those who coddle them than by someone who challenges them. But you're not that person. You're not here to babysit potential. You're here to inspire transformation. When people enter your presence, they start to notice their own gaps. Not because you shame them, but because your energy confronts their stagnation. Your discipline highlights their procrastination. Your focus reveals their distractions. Your mindset shines a light on their excuses. And that can be intimidating. People either rise up when they're around you, or they fall away, because you are a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable when they haven't done the inner work. You believe in accountability, not just for others, but for yourself first. You don't preach what you don't practice. You lead by example. You show people what's possible through your own actions. You don't just speak about growth, you embody it. You expect honesty, effort, and alignment in your relationships. You don't settle for half-truths, surface-level conversations, or one-sided connections. You call people out with grace, but you still call them out. And in doing so, you elevate the entire space you walk into. You know how powerful people can be when they stop lying to themselves. So you don't enable the lie. You expose it. You don't sugarcoat. You speak the truth even when it's uncomfortable, because you understand this one thing. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. That's why your presence often triggers people. You don't let them hide. You don't entertain victimhood when you see victory in them. You don't let them settle when greatness is calling. That energy is rare. That energy is disruptive. And yes, that energy is divine. You are not ordinary because you walk with purpose, and you hold others accountable to live with purpose too. You raise the bar, not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to you. And that's why people either grow with you or go. You weren't made to blend in, you were made to lead. And leaders don't just inspire comfort, they awaken greatness. You're unapologetically authentic, even if it makes others uncomfortable. The final and perhaps most powerful sign that you're not ordinary is this. You are unapologetically yourself. You don't shrink to make others feel safe. You don't mask your light to blend in. You don't apologize for who you are just to keep the peace. And that right there is rare. In a world where people constantly wear masks to be accepted, you choose truth over popularity. You choose alignment over approval. You choose your real self over a version of you that pleases the crowd. And that kind of bold authenticity. It's like a thunderstorm in a silent room. It makes noise. It gets attention. And yes, it can intimidate those who are still hiding behind facades. You've learned that the cost of pretending is too high. You've lived the script that society handed you, and you tore it up. You stopped performing for validation. You stopped editing yourself for comfort. You chose the courage to be real, even if it meant being misunderstood. And here's the truth. Authenticity is a threat to the fake. When you walk into a room fully yourself, people who are still performing feel exposed. When you speak your truth without fear, people who rely on approval for survival feel nervous. Your authenticity shines a light on their insecurity, and that's not your fault. It's just the nature of true presence. You say what others are afraid to say. You live in alignment with your values, even when it's inconvenient. You're not scared to stand alone, because you've learned that peace is better than fake company. You trust your voice. You trust your path. You trust your intuition. That energy? It's magnetic and intimidating. You don't chase trends. You don't mimic people to fit in. You don't play small so others feel big. Instead, you take up space, unapologetically. You speak with conviction, even if your truth shakes this room. You live from the soul, not the ego. You've learned that your power comes from your truth, and you're not trading that power for likes, claps, or empty validation. You'd rather be hated for being real than loved for being fake. You'd rather be alone in your authenticity than surrounded in your illusion. Because at the end of the day, you don't need the world to agree with you. You need to agree with yourself. That's real power, that's inner peace, and that's why you're not ordinary. So if people call you too much, too intense, too different, smile. Because all they're really saying is, you're too real for my comfort zone. And that's exactly what you were born to be. Real, raw, and radiant. You are not ordinary. You are the light that exposes shadows, the truth that disrupts lies, and the fire that refuses to go out. And that, my friend, is exactly why your aura shakes the room before you even say a word. Your presence feels like a mirror. It reflects truth, and not everyone is ready for it. One of the most powerful reasons your aura intimidates people is because your presence acts like a mirror, and not everyone is ready to face their reflection. You walk into a room, and without saying a word, you reflect back to people who they truly are. Their fears, their insecurities, their doubts, their untapped potential, their regrets. Your energy doesn't criticize, but it does confront. It exposes, it reveals, and it makes people take a long, hard look at themselves. You've done the inner work, you've asked the hard questions, you've faced your own shadows, and because of that, when others meet you, they feel your depth, they feel your clarity, they sense that you've peeled back layers most people are too afraid to even look at. That kind of spiritual and emotional depth, it makes people uncomfortable, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're doing something right. You've become what so many people are still avoiding: authentic, aligned, and fully present. And your presence alone reminds people of what they're avoiding in themselves. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your courage reveals their fear. Your honesty exposes their self-deception. It's not that they hate you, it's that they can't hide from themselves when they're around you. That's the power of your aura. It's not just bright, it's revealing. You trigger people, not because you're negative or judgmental, but because your light activates parts of them they've buried, parts they've ignored, parts they're not yet brave enough to heal. And this reflection can be overwhelming. But don't dim yourself. Don't shrink to make others feel safe. Don't apologize for being a walking mirror of truth. Because the world desperately needs more people like you. People who don't flinch when they see darkness, but instead hold a mirror to it. People who don't run from discomfort but help others confront it. People who are real, raw, and ready to awaken others just by being themselves. Yes, your presence will shake some people. Yes, your aura will trigger the unhealed. But that's not your burden to carry. That's a sign of your power, your evolution, your uniqueness. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to be a light, a mirror, a catalyst for truth. And while that journey can feel lonely at times, remember, mirrors don't lie, and light doesn't apologize for shining. You are not ordinary. You are a mirror of growth, clarity, and transformation. So stand tall in your truth, even if it shakes the world around you. Because the right people, the ones who are ready to evolve, will not be threatened by your reflection. They'll be inspired by it. Own your aura, because the world needs it. Let's pause and reflect. If you've related to even a handful of these signs, then know this: you are not ordinary, and that's not a burden, it's a blessing. You carry an energy that many don't understand. You see through things others ignore. You feel deeper, think clearer, and move differently. And yes, because of this, your aura will intimidate people. But let me tell you something powerful. That's not your problem to solve. It's their soul's invitation to evolve. In a world where surface level is celebrated and conformity is comfortable, you are a bold reminder that depth, truth, and authenticity still exist. And that reminder, it can shake people, it can stir their spirit, it can wake them up or make them walk away. But whether people love you, fear you, or distance themselves from you, your job is not to perform for their comfort. Your job is to stand in your truth, unapologetically. Because your aura wasn't built in a day. It was forged in the fire of self-awareness. It was shaped through silence, struggle, healing, and growth. You didn't just wake up strong. You had to earn that peace. You had to fight for that clarity. You had to lose people, face yourself, walk alone, and still rise. And now you're here. Not as someone who seeks to impress, but as someone who chooses to impact. So what's next? You keep being you, You keep walking in rooms and shifting the atmosphere because your vibration speaks before your words do. You keep choosing solitude over fake connection, honesty over people-pleasing, alignment over approval. You keep being the mirror, the lighthouse, the living proof that evolution is possible. And remember this, the very things that make people uncomfortable around you are the same things that make you magnetic to the right tribe, the right purpose, and the right calling. You don't need to explain your aura to anyone who's not ready to receive it. You don't need to lower your frequency to be understood by those stuck in survival mode. You don't need to question your path because others fear the road you're on. Your energy is rare, your awareness is sacred, and your presence is powerful. So stop apologizing, stop hiding, and stop wondering if you're too much. You are not too much. You are exactly enough. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. You were never meant to silence your truth. You were meant to speak light. You were never meant to walk quietly. You were meant to leave footprints of transformation everywhere you go. You don't intimidate people. They feel your power before they understand it. Your aura is loud for a reason. Let it speak truth. Don't shrink to fit in. Expand to inspire. Remember, the right people won't be scared of your light. They'll rise with it.